please get their mics on. And I'll entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
I'll make a motion, we come out of closed session.
Have a second? Any discussion? All in favor of coming out of closed session, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
And I'll read the resolution. Whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors that such a meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors.
Do I have a second on adopting the resolution? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. The chair votes aye. Resolution passes. We're now into our regular agenda. I want to welcome everyone here. We're already in session, so I won't go with bringing us to order. But we have Steve Antes, I hope I said that right, from St. Mary's Catholic Church here to do the invocation. And would everyone please rise for that and remain standing for the pledge.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussions. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect our beloved community. Continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You got anything?
Was that?
Okay, again, I want to welcome everyone that's come out tonight. We'll move on into our agenda. We have citizens time, and we have the Fort Chiswell Church of God. Ms. Cox?
How are you?
Fine.
Hello, thank you all for letting me speak tonight. I'm Lisa Cox, I'm administrative assistant for the Fort Chiswell Church of God, and I came to represent the group. There's a lot of them here tonight to also be here to support their church. There's new construction going on at the Fort Chiswell Church of God in Fort Chiswell. They're expanding, building a new building, and we have run into a problem with our septic situation. The engineering report came back after we got our building permits. We realized that the septic system was asking for a huge septic system, over 5 tanks. $45,000 is what, or $43,500 is what the plans are looking at right now. What we have found is we have 210 people in attendance on any Sunday morning average. The water consumption for the year from August 2014 to 15 was 1,653 gallons average per month. The new septic layout plan is showing 1,750 gallons per day. So that's more than we're using in a month. And they're asking us to do that, and that's what the engineering plans are asking for. It's you, Danny. What we're asking the Board of Supervisors for right now is we have been presented with the option of a pump and haul system, which would be a system where we would have tanks. They would come and pump the tanks for us, and we have a contract, a viable contract from Ayers and Sons Septic. They also have backup trucks, so we would never get into a bad situation, and a verbal commitment from R&R Septic to provide that septic if the Ayers and Sons were not able to. So we have an optional plan that would be much, much more reasonable, probably between $500 and $600 a month. And this is all hoping that eventually a septic system will go in, a public system through Fort Chiswell, which we are hoping that with development that will happen and end up saving the church many, many thousands of dollars. And we're asking for your approval for that pump and haul system, since we have a contract to do that.
Do you have estimated cost on the pump and haul?
I do. What we are looking at for pump and haul is $290 per 1,000 gallons. And if they pumped weekly, we have an approximate 413 gallons per week. So we could probably even go 2 weeks, but our plan is to do it weekly, so we would never run into a bad situation.
Any board member have any questions?
How did they come up with the 1,700 and some gallons per day?
That, we don't know. Apparently, there's a chart that they go by with what I'm reading, and I have a copy of this for each of you that you can see what the engineer sent us, is that it is based on 350 Sunday service visitors. And like I said, we have 210, which is to show 5 gallons per day per seat, $1,750 gallons per day, which would mean that 350 people would have to flush 5 times every Sunday morning. And I don't know how often you all use a restroom at church, but generally speaking, once will do it. So, I have copies of this for each of y'all if I can pass them out.
Thank you.
This actually has what I just talked about and also has a copy of the contract that we've been offered.
Mr. Dalton, you know, I'm not up on this pump and haul. Is that something that the health department?
I laid on your desk,
Yeah, I know, but I haven't had a chance to.
the regulations. I talked to the health department today. Mr. Hale and I talked yesterday briefly about it. The process of how to do a pump and haul is outlined, like the 4th or 5th page back.
But it doesn't require our permission.
Eventually it does, because you have to, once the conference is held with the health department, they need to make an application, then a conference, the plans and specs of how they're going to do it, and the contract. Then the board has to pass a resolution and of that whole process that you do pump and haul. And as part of the contract and bonding of that whole process, we have to have an end date on pump and haul of when something permanent is going to be in place.
Anyone else have any questions?
I guess I've got one question, Ms. Scott, if I may. Have you made the application with the health department for the pump and haul?
No, we came to you first.
Okay.
What kind of time frame you looking at? Now?
The church is in construction right now. We have the engineering plans where we could we have a building permit, so the building is being built now. So we would like to start the pump and haul system as soon as it's occupied.
What is the proposed completion date when you'll have services down there?
The church wants to be in there by Thanksgiving, so, depending on weather, and it is
That's pretty
construction, so.
ambitious, isn't it?
Very ambitious, but we're pretty driven to get that done for them, too. So.
So Mr. Dalton, you're saying that they have to apply to the health department first?
Yes, and then if you're going back to 440,
I see it now.
the local political subdivision has to approve it. But the first item is to go to the health department, make that application, get that started. Scott Honecker at Abington told me today that they were more than willing to meet at y'all's convenience.
Okay,
That's what we do now.
that's what we do next.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next on is Larry Edwards.
Thanks, gentlemen. I'm here representing Valley Properties, which is a Virginia-based corporation that Mr. Melton and I own. We own the 1151 Fort Chisholm Road building that is being currently utilized. We purchased the World Farm, subdivided it, and we have some commercial lots along Fort Chisholm Highway there that we would like to develop. And of course, one of the issues that the church is finding, one of the issues that we're finding is the lack of sewer. So I would like to speak in support of a sewer extension. We do have a prospect that we're currently negotiating with that we would like to build a new building, and we would probably consider building a spec building. There's 4 lots that have road frontage on Fort Chisholm Road, and there's 31-acre tract that adjoins the rescue squad and the top of the hill there. Several prospects that we could probably bring. It's not feasible without sewer. The volume and the necessary amount is just not feasible with a septic system. So I would like to lend our support to anything that you might consider to help our dilemma there. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to address those.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Edwards? Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Yes, Mr. Dalton.
Larry, I'll just call you Larry if that's okay.
Sure.
Could you provide us confidential information so we can assess the impact of what your development's going to be and jobs, and use that for applications? What your actual needs for wastewater are? You don't have to say it today if you can.
Yeah, I can't in an open situation.
Okay.
I can in a confidential situation.
Okay. If we can get that, it'd be very beneficial.
Thank you. Next one on the list, Linda Myers.
Hi, you guys. 2 months ago, when you were doing budget deliberations, I had asked to have a salary schedule, employee salary schedule posted also. So on the website, there is still various budget information, but there has been no salary schedule. So do you think you can do that? And if you can, I'll file a FOIA request.
Are you wanting a list by each position?
Yes,
A list by each position?
right. You did that last year. Because we have a percentage increase, and then we have bonuses and so on and so forth, and the public wants to know. Okay, thanks a bunch.
Mr. Eves, I'll respond to it.
Yes.
I think our response to that is the salaries that were posted last year are the exact salaries that are as of July the 1st this year. On September the 1st, the board will approve new salaries, and when those are approved, they will be posted. But last year's salaries on the schedule of last year's budget are this year's salaries.
Because that's when the raise goes in effect,
Yes.
September. No one else has signed up for citizens' time, and I always open the floor up. Does anybody else would like to speak during citizens' time that didn't have a chance to sign up? Hearing none, I'll close citizens' time and move on into agenda. Have the minutes of the previous meeting, July the 28th. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of July the 28th, 2015. Is there any amendments, corrections, or changes that need to be made to the minutes or any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, I was not here.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion passes. Payment of invoices. I'll entertain a motion to pay the invoices.
I move we pay your bills.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to pay the invoices. Any discussion on any invoice or questions? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Moving right along to old business, we have the Rural Retreat Fire Association. We had a tie vote at our last meeting on Dr. Hausman's motion. Dr. Hausman, would you like to restate your motion?
My motion last week was that we give the Fair Association a one-time donation of $10,000 to help them pay for their operating expense so that they can get off the ground and give them an opportunity to succeed. And that would go into effect as soon as they reinstate their 5013C tax exempt status.
And I think, Mr. Horny, you seconded the motion. Does your second still stand?
Yes.
I'll open the floor up for discussions again.
Since you guys have put me on the hot seat here, let's discuss what was the pros and cons. I understand, Dr. Hausman, that this is a one-time and it would be payable when they reevaluate their 501c3.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who was opposed to it?
I did.
Well, why?
If you open enough a can of worms there, you're gonna have every rule can, everything else if you want $10,000.
Any more discussion?
I didn't pick the rule can just because you did it.
They vote too, you know.
That's on me.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
No.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion passes 4-3. Next on the agenda is Wythe Grayson Regional Library appointment. Mr. Willis?
The Wythe County members got together and would like to get board approval for Mr. Jackson Case to be added to the Wythe County or Wythe Grayson Regional Library Board.
I have a second on appointing Mr. Case to the library board.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of appointing Mr. Case to the library board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So appointed. Okay, under other, Mr. Dalton, is there anything under old business?
I have nothing, sir.
Okay, moving right along to new business, Economic Development Committee.
The Economic Development Committee met on August 6th and recommends that the EvaTran settlement offer proposed in the amount of $190,000 be declined. The committee further recommends that the county attorney notify EvaTran in writing that payment of $335,000 be made within 30 days.
Coming from committee, it doesn't need a second. I open the floor for discussion. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
In clarification, this is just enforcing a standing contract. So I think that's important to note that they signed a contract to do this, and this is just fulfilling that contract.
Yeah, they didn't meet the requirements of the contract.
Any other discussion or questions? Hearing done, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next on agenda is county administrator search. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that the Board of Supervisors enter into contract negotiations with the lead candidate for the county administrator.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning?
No.
No.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes. Motion passes 4-3. Next item on the agenda is the animal shelter inspection. Mr. Dalton?
You have in your package the latest inspection down at the animal
With no
shelter.
deficiencies. Do we need to accept this?
No, sir, just for information. It's a good report. The full-time and part-time people down there are working hard along with all the volunteers to make this happen. It's pretty unusual, if you read the paper and watch television, how unusual it is to get a clear report from VDEX.
I know we appreciate the job that Mr. Dunford and Mr. Blanchett and the volunteers do down there, the part-time people. Next item on the agenda is the joint governing body meeting on August the 31st, 2015.
If you have any other items, we have asked to be placed on the agenda already, a presentation by the JIDA of how I guess a fake interview or presentation would be made to a prospective industry for critique, to the governing bodies, and also to update us on prospective industry visits to the county. If there's any other items, just let us know.
What date do we need to have them to you by?
It says here by August 18th, Tuesday.
Okay, I'll ask each board member to take note of that, and if you have anything to present, get it in before the 18th of August. Okay, Mr. Dalton, that's all we have under new business except as other. Do you have anything else to bring before the board at this time?
No, sir, I do not.
Does any board member have anything to discuss?
I've got a request. I had a call this morning. I think the lady actually lives in your district, but the Mike Thomas property, the people that took possession of that property after Mr. Thomas' death was supposed to clean up and maintain that property, as I understand. This lady says it hadn't happened, and I wondered if Arlen could stop by there and investigate it, get back to us with whatever remedy would seem appropriate. She also said she's trying to sell her property, and it's adjacent to it, and it's making a problem for her to sell her property. I haven't been by there and has seen it, but in her exact words, the property was much better maintained when he was there.
We will have somebody visit the site tomorrow.
Does anyone have anything else to bring before the board at this time? Hearing none, you have your informational packet in your board package. I know it says adjourn, but we will not adjourn tonight. We'll recess until 5:30 on the 19th, which is next Wednesday, for further discussion on the county administrator search. Hearing nothing else, declare us in recess.